So today's topic, we are doing methods, and I am Lee from DevU. DevU, we work on foundational programming for software development and all that type of stuff. Right now, we're focusing on Java development. So we have a class right now that we've been meeting for the last 6 weeks. Join our virtual classes. Follow us on Instagram to find out when our virtual classes will take place. And we're focusing on people who have no prior coding history. You're trying to get into a boot camp, or maybe you did do a boot camp and you just need a little bit more practice in it. And people who think they're interested in coding and want to get in and see what it's all about. I want to try to keep this video really brief. There's a more in-depth one in below, where we got the links and stuff. And I encourage you to check that video out. We actually jump into the IDE and do some coding practice, and we see what those things looks like. We see what those things look like in the IDE, and it's a bit longer. But this one is going to be like a teaser. All right, so let me share my screen, and we are going to go over methods. So we're going to start right here in the middle of our document here. Methods, we're going to go over 1, what is a method? 2, what do they look like? And then 3, we're going to not create a method, but we're going to look at the syntax around method. Again, if you want to create a method, we'll do that in the longer video. Check it out below. All right, first, what is a method? All right. So Java is a coding language. Most languages have words that either represent actions or things. Then you got descriptive words as well, but we ain't getting there yet. So in Java, we have words that represent things, which we call objects. And then we have words that represent actions, which we call methods. Objects, methods. Objects, methods. And at the base of the base of development, those are the 2 main pieces that we'll be messing with. We'll be creating objects and we'll be creating methods. We'll be creating things and then verbs that can make these things do stuff, or verbs that, do stuff to these things. So that's what a method is. It's a verb. It's an action that you take on an object or a class or a system. All right. So what do they look like? So in our current class, we've seen a few methods, not many, but we've seen a couple in our work so far. Last week we did arrays, and we did a sort method off of our array. Sort, that's an action. It does something. What did it do? It took our array and then it sorted it in alphabetical or numerical or ascending order, either in alphabetical or ascending order. That's an action. That's a verb. That's a method. All right. And every time we use our scanner to allow us to type into the console to give some feedback, or to give the next double or the next integer, or type in the next string, we use our scanner, and we do a scanner.next or a scanner.next double or a scanner.nextInt. Again, that's a method. Now, even when we did our first program, Hello World, we did a system.out.println. Println is a method. So one thing you'll notice about methods, they are dotted off something. So you'll see a dot before them, and they have these parentheses at the end. And oftentimes they will be, the name of it will be like an action type of word, like sort or print. And in this next double, there's an implied get the next double or receive the next double. Sometimes they do those implied words just so the method names aren't super long. But I encourage you to, do what makes most sense for you and your team. But personally, I like for methods to be named after verbs or some type of action. All right. And one little side caveat, methods won't always be dotted off something, but in most cases they will be. All right, so let's go see what it looks like to create a method. All right, so here's the general syntax. We got first, you say what access level. So which files will have access to this method? So who can use this method? The next item you put in is the return type. So when you run a method, you start off with an object, or yeah, you start off with an object. Method is some action that happens, and then either some action happen and it gives you something in return, or some action happen and it just let that action happen and it's over. So the return type is if it gives you something in return, what is that thing? So you give it something or not, action happens, and it would give you something back or not, depending on how you write it. Next, we have the name. The name, again, I hope it's a verb in most cases. You know, just a little disclaimer. Name it what makes most sense for you and your team. But personally, I just hope you do ones that has verbs, that's names, but you know, but sometimes it might not make sense. I can't think of many examples, but I'm sure there's some out there. But anywho, you name it. And you put 2 parentheses, that's very important. And then you go ahead and close it off, or you put your code in there, of course, and then you close it off. All right, so let's take a look at creating a method. So I created one right here on our board here, and it's a simple one. It's a say hi method. It just says hello to the console. Now, notice we got public access level. It returns void, meaning it returns nothing. Void means nothing, nothing's there. So it returns nothing. And the name of it is say hi. Got our parentheses. And then we got system.out.println hello. That's all it does. Does that make sense? Cool. If it doesn't, check out the other video. We're gonna get more into that. All right. Second method we're gonna create real quick is a method that takes in a parameter. So this method is say something, and what is this? Access level. What is this one? Return type. And which, this one is void, so it's returning nothing. And then, of course, our name, say something. And then we're taking in a parameter. So this is one of those methods that you give it something, method runs, something happens, and then that's it. So this one, we take in a string parameter, and let's go ahead. We got some notes on parameter. Let's see what this says over here. So it has one parameter, as we see, and it's a string, and we're calling it A. So a parameter allows you to use outside variables inside your method. Now, if a method has a parameter, you must include it when you use the method. So this means 2 things. So if you were to call this method, you have to put a parameter in here. Meaning, so we'll take it back just a little bit and over. Remember back our print line method? Now, wouldn't it only make sense that we put something in here if we call our print line method? Or else you wouldn't be printing anything, right? Food for thought. All right, so when you call the method, you have to put something in it. And then it also means inside of your method, and I need to have a closing bracket there, inside of your method, you need to use your parameter. See, I use my A here. Boom. Everybody's happy. Now, again, in our other video, we'll actually code this in our IDE and other examples and check it out. It's my last disclaimer, I swear, or a shameless plug. So this last method that we're going to go over, it has an actual return value and return type, and it has two parameters. So let's break it down. This method is called multiply. It is public, so it's it can be called by any class in our application. It returns an integer. It's called multiply, and it has two parameters. And this is the action on the inside. So let's kind of read this backwards, because I like to read them backwards because they make a little bit of sense. So not completely backwards, but I like to start off right here and then read it backwards. So it's a method called multiply. It takes in two data types, put them in the method, does its thing, and then it returns one integer, and then it's accessible to everybody. That's how this reads. Like I said, Java is a language. It's like reading a book. Once you understand it, reading and writing code is like reading and writing books. All right, so takes in two integers, A and B. Something happens, gives you back one integer, C. And it's accessible to everybody. Anybody in the application can use this method. All right. So in code, boom, boom, integer return type. So here, let's look at what this multiply is doing. So we use A and B, boom and boom. Good so far. And now we create this integer C. And then now we're saying to return C. So C is an integer and we're returning it. So one thing to point out is whenever we have a return type, you must use this return keyword and return an object or a data type that is the same as this object or data type. All right, let's see if I hit on all my notes here. So return type. Many methods will result in a new object or data type. Something happens, give you something back. The resulting object or data type is the return value. So here, C is our return value. Its type is the return type. And its type is integer. All right. So that is the last, I guess, structure of method that we'll go over. And we're not really going to hit on static versus non-static methods. But one thing to just kind of drop, because in the example we do use static methods. Static and non-static is just whether you have to, and kind of going back to here, whether you have to dot it off a class or dot it off an object, essentially. Static methods, if you use them inside the class, you don't have to dot anything off of them. You could just call them. And that's that one example when you don't have to dot off. All right, so didn't mean to go into that, but we did anyway. Hope you got something from it. Hope you could use that information. Now, we went over everything I wanted to go over in this video. And I don't know what time we got, but I was hoping to do it fairly quickly. I hope I did it fairly quickly. Again, we hit what is a method, what do they look like, and we show how to create them. That's all the time I'm gonna use. Remember, check us out at devu.org, at devu.org on Instagram. We on LinkedIn, Facebook. And then just give us some feedback, man. We're just starting this thing new on the virtual units. We're like teachers. We like to be in front of people. So this is new. So it's kind of weird to me, but we don't give it a try. Support us, because we support the community. We out here, y'all. We out here.